You know, we were watching wrestling last night.
Uh-huh.
All right, so imagine.
I remember didn't get to see Brianna. What's her name? What's her name?
Oh, Brianna Banks. Yeah, I paused it. So we were watching wrestling last night. Just hold on a second. We're gonna have a little sidebar. How is it, like 59? Yeah, we watch wrestling to make fun of people. She does it to watch the guys in tights, especially the ones that just roll over the belly. She loves those guys. So I was watching, and they had like 59,000 people in that stadium.
That's crazy.
And this guy is like doing his he's exhausted thing. And I swear,
like a wrestler was doing it?
Like a wrestler was doing it,
Okay.
dead center. I don't remember who it was. And this bee goes, out of 59,000 people, as the cameraman was showing him, this bee goes, what?
Are you kidding
Right
me?
in the pocket. And he's like, you think he's like going from exhausted to like, oh shit, I know exactly what I'm doing. That was a bee. It was weird. Like, I was like, oh, that just happened. So.
Like when you on the ladders. All the... Yeah.
The Hornets,
the Hornets.
All right, well, welcome back. This is Afterglow Recovery and Afterglow Escapes, and we're just hanging out, trying to heighten our video and audio chops, tell you a little bit about us, Afterglow Recovery, the Dominican Republic. So,
And hopefully you'll get to know us a little bit better.
yeah, it helps you. All the real jokes are on the beach.
Yes.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, so the best time... The best time last year was not ever shared with anybody at all. But we're hanging out with Richard and Miriam. We're walking down the beach, and I'm taking a few pictures. I don't take a lot of pictures, but I take a few. And so...
What? Wait, rewind.
So I'm taking pictures, and I've got some pictures
we need to
of
get polls from visitors if you take a few pictures.
But if I didn't take a lot of pictures, I wouldn't have got this one.
Okay.
Richard and Miriam, sunset down the beach. They're having this nice walk. Tammy's about midway. I'm taking a picture. And what did I snap you doing?
No. You are not.
She was doing something foul, obscene, and I got it on camera. And so later on, we're on the porch.
You should just post it at the end of this video.
I will. Yeah.
It's not
Well, this is what I'm saying. Is you're like, we might be entertaining. You guys don't know that for sure. But I'm telling you, we're on the porch that night. I'm scrolling through the photos. I kick some out. I've got one of her making this obscene gesture. And so I start showing it to Richard and to Miriam. And really, to see this big old pano picture, you have to zoom in on what she's doing to see if she's actually doing what we think she's doing. And the more we zoom it in, the more we see she's actually doing what we think she's doing. And we're just, we're dying. We're laughing so hard, we're coughing. And she's in the restroom while we're scrolling this picture. And she's like, what? What is it? Like, nothing. So I've never posted that picture, but you'll get a little idea.
I became besties after that.
You'll get a little idea of who we are naturally through us talking through some of these questions. But really, the brilliant fun is out having those organic moments where we're just... You can't,
amongst friends, being free and enjoying.
Yeah, you can't telegraph them. They're these moments that happen out there that Annie in the cab just learning what harpooning is and saying her no.
In the van, the ladies.
Ocho, cero, nuevo. So we have these great moments when we're out in the DR. We have these great moments all the time, but. Richard and I, we're going to try and steer a little bit more towards some of the recovery questions. We had quite a few relational ones. We'll probably break that into a couple different parts so that you can... I didn't realize how long we were going, but I guess talking's natural. So what kind of questions do we have that are recovery related?
Pause question.
The pause question.
Yes.
We did have somebody, Sarah, asked us a question about how long PAWS. For those of you who don't know, PAWS stands for post-acute withdrawal syndrome. And I sort of would sum up pause scientifically like this. Like, I was listening to a podcast and I was so excited to hear that our body, our entire body, the cells, the bones, the heart, it regenerates every 7 years. So the cells that you have sitting in your body right now will be completely carried through the apoptosis and die, and you'll regenerate and have new. And then they go, except your neurons. It's like, shit. Well, the brain is what I would like to regenerate the most. Like, in 7 years, if I could have a new brain, I mean, that would be great. But your neurons, your motor neurons, those are established. A lot of your pathways are established at an early age. That's why we have triggers, and the neuroplasticity is such that when we learn things, we are built to retain and keep them. And so when you do a lot of brain damage over and over and over and over again, and you create these pathways, the rebound effect of not giving them the drug that they're used to actually swings in the other direction. So PAWS, post-acute withdrawal syndrome, although the acute withdrawals would be things like the shakes or just hard impulsive triggers, PAWS is something that's carried out throughout the recovery process, and most experts say that it's carried out from a span of about 12 to 48 months, so 1 to 2 years. For some of you, that might sound disheartening because you're like, man, I get through the initial. I found that the first year, PAWS was significant. It takes time to get your sleep patterns back to adjust. It takes time to get your triggers to... You almost have to mow through every experience in a calendar year for the first time to get those pathways to know that they're of no use to you anymore. So if you hit a 4th of July barbecue, or you hit Halloween where you're toting the youngsters out throughout the neighborhood and you're used to doing that with a drink, those triggers are going to come hard at you until you kind of power your way through them and start building neural pathways. I found for myself that I was well into my second year before they went away, because a lot of PAWS comes with just general agitation. I felt better, but I was still wavering as to whether, up until close to my second year when I wrote Finding Bishop Castle and we had that moment, I was considering going back to drinking. And so sometimes the agitation that you experience, it can be agitation with others. It can be agitation with your own living circumstance. It can be agitation of, why am I getting triggered at all? I've been doing this for 18 months or 20 months, and why hasn't this gone away? Really, your brain cells are extremely resilient. Those pathways that you built, I mean, people who have experienced trauma that aren't alcohol related, it could be sexual, it could be familial, you had hard traumas, you know that your brain retains those memories and they come. So it takes a lot of training to get those. And with that training or lack, or having to go through those training moments, ends up causing agitation. It causes feelings that you never had before. But what I would say to people is that don't look at PAWS as a detriment. Look at it as an opportunity to get curious. So for me, I thought that when I stopped drinking, I would stop writing and I would stop being creative. And I hit you have slush brain for a while, let's face it. But I hit like the 6 to 8 month period, and my feelings. See, I used to think that I would drink and that would warm or lubricate my feelings, and then I could be creative. But as an effect, an affect of PAWS, having those post-acute withdrawals, my feelings were starting to rebound in the other direction. And so I was feeling more things, but I was also able to be more creative. So anytime that you're really agitated by your feelings, just my recommendation would be don't look at it as a detriment, but look at it as an opportunity to be curious about your feelings and how they're open to be explored and how you can turn them into something beautiful. Because really that's what sobriety and recovery is. It's just an opportunity for you to learn and to grow into better mental health. So hang in there would be things get easier, but you just have to it's like going to the gym. If you went to the gym for the first time, you're confused, you thought you'd do better at that piece of equipment, you didn't even know how to use it, you're wondering what other people think about you. The more that you conquer that little goal or that little piece of equipment, the more familiar you are with it. It's the same with your neural pathways. The more that you work through them and build through them, the stronger you are in the future.
That totally makes sense. Yeah.
That was PAWS. We had another question on mocktails. I think
Oh,
we'll
yes.
do this as another
Yes.
Wednesday Q&A for mocktails. But I think it was Christine who said the only thing she can find is a Shirley Temple. Christine, the only thing she could find was a Shirley Temple. I think the best mocktail going, and I'll stand on this one, is go ask somebody to make a virgin Moscow Mule. So that drink, to me, you're going to get it in your fancy copper cup, and it has ginger beer in general, non-alcoholic ginger beer in general, has a strong bite to it. I personally ask for people to put 2 drops of sriracha and stir it in. It gives it kind of the warmth so that you're not, when you're like in company and you're nervously chugging more than you want to, because that's a good precept to have, is to keep going at it to keep the uncomfortableness off of you. Sometimes that spice and that bite just gives you a warmth to your chest, and it slows you down drinking it. And it's a sophisticated way to have a non-alcoholic beverage that to me is the best. So if you haven't tried a Virgin Mule, watch them make it if you feel like you need to, so that they're not throwing vodka in it. But you're basically going to get some ginger beer, some hot sauce, and to me, it's a great go-to mocktail.
Yeah, Jeff makes them at the house all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like a true addict, I got nerdy and I started making my own ginger syrup with ginger root, which is kind of expensive in the States. And then you find out how much sugar you're actually pouring in to make your own ginger syrup. But I'll use a diet ginger beer once a night, 2 drops of hot sauce, garnish it with a lime if you want. And it's one of the more refreshing slow burns for a mocktail. We'll open it up in the Wednesday Q&As for other people to share their recipes so that we have
That's
a lot more
great
things
question.
to do.
I love that question.
Yeah.
And then next question, how to stay motivated?
How to stay motivated. Somebody asked us how to stay motivated, and it was more life in general. Yoga, things that are good for you. How do you stay motivated?
How do I stay motivated? That's a great question. I really like it though. I love walking. I think I find things that I really enjoy doing. Like I enjoy hiking the mountain, so it motivates me to want to do it.
Yeah.
I enjoy Love Island, but that's besides the point. I enjoy working out, so it motivates me to do it. It's that feeling afterwards. What do I need to stay motivated that I don't like to do? That's the question.
Don't like to do?
Yeah, it's something you don't like to do that you need to stay motivated doing.
Right.
I guess when I quit smoking, I had to stay motivated to do that. I did a calendar and then a check mark on each day to see the progress. And then, how many. I've done that with my clients to lose weight. You daily track it or have them daily track it to stay motivated and to see the results. I guess you could do that with almost anything in life. It depends on what your pleasure is, though, what you get from it.
Yeah.
I
I think number one is that it has to be enjoyable. So if you find yourself saying you want to commit to yoga, but something else always gets in the way, or it's the last on the totem pole to fill your day, and you find yourself not going back to it. I think sometimes you have to ask the question, do I really like doing this activity? Is it enjoyable for me? Because I find that the things that we find most enjoyable, we find ways to build our time around, if possible. Is it somebody telling us that this is good for me and so I should do it? Or do I have that residual, hey, yeah, that felt good, I should do this more, but the guilt and shame outweigh it? I think the two things is you really have to enjoy what you're doing, and you have to stick with it long enough, repetitively, to find the results, which is what you were saying.
Yeah.
So
great. I'm never going to clean my ears again.
You don't find cleaning your ears enjoyable?
No, I don't.
Not at all?
It tickles.
That's a wonderful
it's a weird
feeling.
Yeah.
You know, when Nathan was a kid, he shoved a Q-tip so far down his ear, he thinks he poked his brain. He did. I think he came in crying. He was nervous. And he actually did have tinnitus, like, for a long time. He might still have it. You might be laughing at him.
He still has it.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that was a sign that he had potential addictive tendencies, because when you like cleaning your ears, but you like it so much that you poke yourself a brain hole.
No doubt, huh? I didn't know you could even do that.
I don't think he hit his brain,
good.
but he definitely he went in too far.
Oh, you couldn't.
Anyway, I did not know that about you, that you don't like cleaning your ears.
Now you're going to check them more often, aren't
I'm not
you?
checking shit. I'm sleeping somewhere different tonight. So I think it's hard. I have never been an exercise person or a gym rat. I've always felt like I have to trick myself into exercising. So there has to be a game involved. I've gotten
Games are great. Games are great. We'll play a game between us. We'll do bets. We'll have a pot, something like that, and that helps us stay motivated too. Some kind of reward.
We're in Colorado, so the pot she means is not pot, but we'll have a pot of money that if we stick with something, we get the reward.
Yes. Or some kind of bet. Somebody cooks, something like that. You know.
So yeah, making a game of whatever your situation is and sticking with it, finding a reward that's not, because sometimes the physical reward for exercise or a book club, if you were to do it, doesn't always have to revolve around physical health, but a mental challenge, if you can give yourself a reward for doing it that gives you a slight reward because the payoff is down the road, I think that's but I've always struggled with that too. I'll get into a routine at the gym, and then as soon as I have some sort of other chaos that's pulling me aside, I have a hard time getting back into it. So I think we're not only here to support each other for, recovery, but for those things too, to actually get people to
join a group too.
Joining groups, yeah. Accountability, friendships. It would be a lot like recovery in addiction. If you can connect with people and you don't feel like you're doing something solo, then you're more accountable to go.
And you learn too. There's other things you can learn from them too, and you could teach.
Tammy is very responsive for $100 bill. If we have a weight loss challenge, and we get 100 at the end of the month for free spending on whatever, automatically it's like it's on. If we have a weight loss contest, or sometimes it's not. Weight loss can be sometimes a detriment. What you can do is, size. If you want to do size of your legs or arms or something like that, that's another fun challenge. But I guess keeping each other accountable, but competition, not losing on $100 bill is always. So Christina, if your answer is to give yourself $100 for a certain amount of yoga classes, Tammy will give it to you.
100%.
Out of her winnings. She loves you that much.
True that.
Okay, so we're going to start steering a little bit closer into what it's like in the Dominican Republic. We're relationships that we've built. Richard asked us a question. He said, do you feel a deeper, better connection to your new lifestyle because you have made so many sober friends, acquaintances? Or do you feel like the progression would be similar if you were keeping your circle small?
So for me, I love the deep connections we have made with our new acquaintances and friends. The people that come out to visit end up being like long time life friends, and we still chat and we still talk and message back and forth, and those are real deep connections. A circle might be wider, but they're beautiful connections. Like Miriam, Kristen, you guys, there's just so many. And then even where we live in the DR, we've made so many acquaintances there, so many new friends there. Beautiful, amazing, wonderful people that we never would have found or had these special times with them if we hadn't done this. We haven't broadened our whereabouts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Small circles are amazing, and I think that we have the same thing you have in a small circle. We just have it with a bigger circle now. You know,
a big circle and two, dynamic locations.
Tammy, and just go on and on.
Yeah, it's the Afterglow escape trips have been like the linchpin to solidifying relationships that are casual. So, and we have casual relationships online, and I would lean on what is somewhat I don't know if it's hard science or soft science, but there's something called the Dunbar's number where I think it's somewhere between 70 and 120 people. It's the maximum amount of people that you can keep in tight, close-knit community with. And what I noticed in early recovery is I was a part of a Facebook group, and you really latch on to a handful of people who you're really simpatico with. Like, I've got Chris, I've got Allison, I've got Natasha. I would get on a plane in a heartbeat for these people because they were, albeit on social media, they were the beating heart of what I needed in my recovery at that given time. And then you learn they've got some of the same attributes and they've got some of the same music choices. And you really form these tight-knit bonds. We're not built to be best friends with 870 people or whatever. It's just the human brain doesn't have the capacity for it. So what we like to do is open up this experience for everybody to peek in and look at. And then for the people who really want to come in and cement for themselves, not necessarily the relationship with us.
No, that's just an added bonus.
Yeah, that is a casualty of us coming together and doing something special together. But cementing it for yourself that you can go out and do some of the really creative things that we're doing, and you can do them for yourself, and you can look farther into the future and see what that has for you. So Richard's question was really confusing to me because I don't ever feel like my circle got bigger. No, I feel like it's like if you were to look at Jesus as an example, and if you want to like equate me with Jesus, you can. You want to? I mean, you can if you want.
You're kind of like a diva like him. I noticed you changed your shirt.
I did change my shirt. I'm sponsored. I got a certain amount of royalties. I got a certain amount of royalties for the first one. I was worried from diva. If it's diva stature, it means I didn't want sweat rings in my armpits from the first shirt. And then at the end of this, I can go, and I'm sponsored. So if you were to look like even in these like ancient stories of Jesus and follow the history of it, it's like he had 120 people at some time. He had 70 people sometimes. He mostly traveled with 12. And when the shit really hit the fan, he was with 3. And one of those people betrayed him. It's like not uncommon to keep a small, tight-knit circle of people who you can depend on. And then every once in a while, he would go out and engage and feed 10,000. You know what I mean? So I look at it, as our circle has never really expanded, we've just gotten a little bit louder with what we're doing. But the tight-knit, close relationships, they're formed through interaction. You'll find certain people with a penchant for football, and you can talk, and you're like, oh, I know I can talk to that person about football, and I can talk to that person about new wave 80s music. And you get, these tight connections to where when they're really hurting and when they're really struggling, they know that you're available. I've had people that have done that for me.
Me too.
We get to be that for other people when the circumstance commands it. But for the most part, we're a voice piece that's louder than we actually are. We feel like we're a real tight-knit community. And that's really, it's really been hammered home during the Afterglow escape trips, because you're living in tight community. You're going out and experiencing a dynamic, activity. And I remember, like, this goes for everybody, but I'll use Kim as an example. Kim came out, and she was, we were walking back. We saw her on the taxi to go hit the airport on the way. And I just sat in the couch, and I was like close to tears. Like, that was awesome. She came out by herself. There was a little bit, I wouldn't say no fear, but maybe trepidation. Like, she didn't know us, but she put herself in our care. And then we went and did some crazy shit. And having her get into the taxi and go back onto the airplane, I had to gather myself for a few moments. Like, who does that? And I wasn't proud of us. I was like, I met a person who was courageous and strong and funny. And I know now I can go to Seattle and we can duplicate in some similar fashion some crazy friendship and bond we had from trusting one another. And it goes so far beyond recovery and sobriety. We're not like a recovery company. We're an experience company that show people that they can experience a form and fashion of fun that they had never experienced when they were drinking. And so I think the circle is still small, and we'll continue to broadcast that small circle and those dynamic experiences, and hopefully it gets a little bit wider in scope, which kind of leads us to what Miriam was talking about. She had asked us a question.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So she asked us if we would do a retreat, or if we consider doing a retreat in the future. So yes, Miriam, we have thought about doing that. We've actually put together a whole plan to do a group retreat. And it's more of a physical aspect of a group retreat. There's so many things in the Dominican Republic that you can do that's super physical, super fun, super enjoyable. But then we have, like you said, Nature Cabana that does the yoga. We have Pilates. I do the aerobics in the pool.
Surf lessons.
I mean, we have all the water sports. We have the mountain climbing, kayaking. There's just so many beautiful activities you can do there and be active at the same time. And then in between all that, we would have a discussion on the effects of sugar, just kind of a nutritional aspect of it too. So yes, we have talked about that. We have considered that.
Yeah, we've thought a couple of different directions too. It's like we could have certain retreats where we focus on health. We could have certain retreats where we focus on activities. We love the idea of having a group, everybody kind of, just like we were talking about, like they know each other on the periphery, but you don't really know somebody until, you're out there holding their rappelling line and, climbing down the waterfall. And it's like, then you're laughing, then you're going, oh, did you see that? Then you're conquering transportation and things like that together. So we can envision having a group retreat down the road. We've also thought about steering in the direction of, in the peak season, the condos are so lean to be able, the inventory of condos are so lean right now because the DR is such a popular place to be. We've thought about coming home a couple of months early. And by coming home, I mean coming back to Colorado and then opening up our condo so that Afterglow members could use it as a rental and then experience what we're experiencing autonomously by themselves, and then us publishing like a sober survival guide so that we can point you in the right direction remotely. So,
and I don't know if you guys know what we do right now is when you get there, we get you from the airport. We take you to the best place to exchange your money, grocery shopping, and then we take you back, make sure you get in your condo safely, or not safely, but make sure you get into your condo. And then we cook a dinner, get to know each other a little bit. We introduce you to the beaches, to your surrounding area, so you feel comfortable where you are. We make sure we have a list of the best taxi drivers. We know all the people that you would connect with for activities, and we get discounts at a lot of places. So there's a lot that goes into what we do. It's not that you just come out and then and we do a lot of the activities if you would like with you. We take you to the best restaurants based on your choice of what you would like to eat. So what Jeff's saying is we would do this book. We'd put it together for you with all this information in there, and that would be sitting in there for you. So you would have that available to you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So yeah, a couple different directions. We can do retreats. Tammy just explained that we're doing the concierge, where we're just attached to you for a week, taking you around, and which has been phenomenal. And then we're also thinking with the lean inventory of condos, backing off and letting you step into our life as a vacation with assistance remotely, with a sober, published guide, and activities lined up. And so there's a lot of different directions we can go. We're definitely in the fledgling experience of us just teasing out everything that the DR has to offer, restaurants and activities, and we're loving it. We're having a blast. We're allowing it to just sprout and grow as we see the desire from the members of Afterglow and what they want to do. We had one question. It was from Richard, and he had asked, because I think when we initially met Richard, he was interested in doing a relocation to the DR, especially in his retirement years, but he was putting some good forethought into it right now. So his question was more around the logistics of how the Dominican population view expats who have expatriated to the DR or live there for extended periods of time. It's a great question because when you travel somewhere, you want to get a feel for how the people are going to treat you and whether they genuinely want you there. And especially if you're going to expend your retirement years or months at a time like us, do you feel welcome? So I'll let you hit that for, do you want to?
You'll let me hit that?
You hit that.
I'll hit that.
It's getting late. You want to hit that?
So one of the reasons we picked the Dominican is because of the people. So there's a couple aspects to this question. So as far as the people themselves go, they welcome you with open arms. They are beautiful people, smiley, bright, happy. If you talk to any of our guests, that's one of the reasons they loved coming out there, is their interaction with the Dominican people. And same happened for Jeff and I on our first visit there. And what it comes down to is the Dominican people are really happy in their lives. The area that we live in is a 10-generation farming town, white-collared workers. And they have, blue-collar workers.
We got Bernie Madoff. Got all sort of white-collar Dominican criminals just on the beach creating hedge funds.
Oh my gosh. Anyways, so they have, for 10 generations, learned to help each other to survive. And they do that with us too, with the American people. They want to make sure you're happy there, you're doing well, they're friendly. And you get on a guagua, and you drive through town like Guagua, which is a van. It's like a bus, but it's a van. It's full of Dominican people. If they know that you can't tell the driver where you want to go, Dominican people, a lot of them will speak English because their schools teach English. So they'll translate for you to the bus driver to make sure that you get off in the right spot. It's just little things like that all the time that they are super helpful with. And when it comes to the government has employed talking with these people, teaching these people, and training these people that when you're American, you're going to bring in the American dollar with you to their island and enrich it in that way. So the Dominican people see you as enriching their island because you're bringing the American dollar with you. And we've talked to taxi cab drivers and just a lot of Dominican people that love the Americans coming there. And we always feel so welcomed by them, don't we? We've created so many friendships with them. Yeah,
and to have a little bit of context, I think there's about 375,000 people who have repatriated or went down there in their retirement years or relocated. And that's in an island of, I think, about anywhere from 12 to 15 million is the latest census population. So you're talking about an island that's the size of maybe a large state in the U.S., and yet our two coastal towns have less people in them overall than the suburb that I raised Nathan in. Like Tammy was speaking, they come from a farming background where it's just everybody helps each other. And so they've migrated down to the beaches a little bit because that's where the tourist dollar is, but they have that help your neighbor atmosphere. There is a hustle to a certain amount of Dominicans because they see you, they see that you potentially have some income available, and so that hustle comes by way of beautiful moments where they're helping you cross the street. Or, you know, I've had one guy.
You just wanted to tell this story.
I love this story. I've had one guy. He's got blonde dye. He's Dominican, but he's got blonde curly dyed hair, so he really stands out. It's like Eminem blonde. Yeah. He's got a gap in between his tooth, and every time I come to the coastal town of Cabarete, he stands in front of traffic, one lane each direction, which is a busy you don't want to get. He stands in front of the traffic. He puts his arms up and he goes, "Everybody, it's Vin Diesel. Let Vin Diesel come through." And he embarrasses me because Vin Diesel is native to the Dominican Republic. And so everybody starts and looks. And of course, I've got these wimpy arms and no chest and dad bod crossing the street. And he's like, and he smiles so big. He's like, "But you know what? That's 50 pesos to me, or 100 pesos, $2 in his hand, not to stop traffic, but to have that sort of cordial disposition that I'm okay being there." There are Caribbean countries that are very closed off and very pretentious. And the blue collar sort of, I call it kind of like a libertarian Wild West, where the laws aren't fully formed. The representative democracy does a great job understanding what the tourist dollar is. And I think the best anecdote alongside of getting traffic stopped for you is post-COVID was when we bought our condo, and it was right when we moved there. And there were so many Dominican people that were like, "We're so glad to have you back." Now, they didn't know that that was our first time there, but they thought that we were repetitive visitors to the island. And they would say, you know, restaurants closed, beaches closed, taxi cabs weren't in operation. And our taxi driver has 3 generations of, you know, taxi service, and they weren't making their bills. So there's a good synergy of give and take. We love supporting the local restaurants, not the foreign-owned restaurants. And all of the beaches aren't co-opted by foreigners. They're for everybody. So you see a blend of Italians, Dominicans, Haitians, Irish, American, and even Canadians. There's a huge Canadian population. So we feel very welcome. As to the portion of Richard's question where he said, can we make money down there, or can somebody else make money down there? That's a to each his own situation. You should have Dominican papers and a cedula if you're going to make money down there. We make ours online through books or through, service fees. But if you were to go down and take somebody's job, you would actually need working papers and a cedula. So if you were going to carry on your vocation of, hospitality management or something like that, you would actually need to be a resident or a co-resident of the Dominican Republic to earn a living. But you can receive your pension and all those things.
Yeah. And as an expat, a lot of people will work online for companies. That's mainly what they do unless they're retired or such.
Yeah.
So that's huge too.
So one of the best pieces of advice is to get your remote job and then travel to the DR. Don't go to the DR and try and get your remote job. That would be an important component of that. Let me add, and I'll add this. You don't want to look at the expat forums on Facebook and all of the social media warriors for your information on how pleasurable a location is to travel. My experience is if you move to a tropical island and you find all your joy on being on a message board or a Facebook group, you're not living to the best of your potential, and you're usually on that site to cause derision. So it's like a lot of town gossip talks. If you were in the suburbs in the US and you were on your local cities, you've got people who are just wanting to complain about this, that, and the other, and that's where they find their joy. So I would never find the difference between an expat forum in Facebook and actually living and sitting in a neighborhood and eating an empanada and talking, to the local store owner, far away different than some of the attitudes of people who are social media pricks. And so we step back in at the end of September and we get ready to go again. We've got a handful of people lined up in the fall. We have the spring completely open, with the exception of we have neighbors and friends that aren't in recovery that are starting to want to come out and visit. So we have to, if you guys want to come out in the spring, we're going to have to beat off some locals and make sure we make room. But there's room if you guys are starting to think that if you just put yourself back in the winter doldrums of last winter when you got that March snowstorm or that February snowstorm and you rolled your eyes and you had to shovel your car out or whatever it is that's winter to you forecasted down the line. If you're going to be interested in a vacation in January, February, or March, start letting your wheels turn about it now, because the condo inventories will really have to...
Very lean.
They're very lean. So everybody's post-COVID. The DR is a phenomenal value for people to go vacation in, and people are sponging up the condos for months at a time just to escape winters. So we want to make sure that we have something available for you if you're interested.
Yeah. Can't wait. Boop, boop.
Getting close.
So close.
All right. Well, we're going to be reaching out and contacting everybody that already has trips in the work for this fall. We're going to start sending preference sheets here in the next month and start getting your thing planned. We appreciate you guys. We appreciate being able to interact on the daily with you. We don't do 100%. Anything out of a ulterior motive. It's like pure altruism that we enjoy getting on, using Facebook the way it was intended, goofing off, showing you things that are inspirational, interacting and engaging with you. We totally love it. So we're glad that you're there. We're glad that we get to use Facebook the way it was supposed to be used, I think. And not just a holding ground for your future better, but just making the daily a little bit brighter.
Yeah, and community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see you next time. Thanks for indulging us, for allowing us to make a video.
See you on the next video.
See you on the next one.
And the next shirt.
I'm going to be sponsored by O'Neill next time, I swear.
You're
I'm going
just
to get that surfing
moving
money.
up, aren't you?
Now ask me if I can surf. You're like, no. We're a mile
Okay, as long
above
as they're
sea
giving
level.
you money, honey, you don't have to tell me anything else.
We're a mile above sea level, and I'm wearing this surfer shirt. Talk about blowhard. All right, thanks, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye.